Hello. Not the intro you were expecting? Well, it wasn't the one I wanted to make either. I'll let you in with a bit of context on this one. I had actually started 2 new HSR accounts. This was the first account, and that Clara was after 80 pulls. Before this, I had went 138 pulls to get Evernight Cyclone and 81 pulls to get both Bronya and Evernight. It's 300 pulls and I'm still on E0S1. And considering that it was mostly paid via one-time gate sources and also wanting to snatch up an X on the next banner, I decided that the best course of action was to pull a generational 300 pull reroll. So, all aboard the Astral Express. Again. Just as a reminder of what happens when you start the game, the Astral Express buddies wake the Trailblazer up, and then the game introduces you to the basics of characters, and then you have to painfully sit through a few fights on 1x speed. Really painfully. More shenanigans later and you get a Danheng. And with the first Void Rangers encounter, the game finally unlocks 2x speed. Took long enough. Afterwards, we head down to the Masteral Control Zone. And firstly, we get a free Archer. I somewhat expected him to not be available anymore, but hey, I sure am not complaining. And a bit more dialogue here and there, and then Warping also gets unlocked. 2.5 years later, this will come in handy. Later on, I also unlocked the Inbox. The Serval and Lightcone doesn't matter, but the 20 standard pulls helps a lot. Granted, I didn't actually get anything useful from those pulls, but pity is pity. Okay, it says 2 days of login, but that's only because the day before I got logged out of my previous account and I forgot which email I used, so this is still day 1. Moving on, I Honkai Star Railed the Doomsday Beast. The free Archer sure is a big help, then well kicked some sense into the Stellaron, and I reached Railways level 5 for another 10 standard pulls. But also I haven't set my Celestial Invitation. My logic with these are that I'm replacing characters with effectively direct upgrades. Yanqing is... Xuan is a better sustain than Bailu, and Blade is a better counter DPS than Clara. Although seeing Clara's recent performance, Gripard should have gotten the boot instead. Day 1 of my new life. Bit on the nose, but that's a pretty good light cone. Then I scratched up a bunch of pulls to get my first limited 10 pull because I am impatient. Oh yeah, the free interference key was still happening when I started. And with the tutorial gates, that's 8 pulls plus 320 gauges. Oh well. Tad bit later, and the Express crew got jumped by Bronya. The game probably expects you to level up a couple characters in light cones by about now. But the game probably didn't expect a free DPS 5-star, so this was a bit of a breeze. And then we got kidnapped, rescued, kid-skewed by Sampo? Hey, remember level gated Trailblaze missions? Well, I didn't. So, sim uni grinding it is. I also unlocked the Interastral Peace Guide a bit later. Great source of Trailblaze EXP and gates, but mostly Trailblaze EXP. And with that, we can get back to doing the main story. In the meantime, I was also working through the beginner missions. And a few quests later, I've reached TL15, which also unlocks Ascensions, which means more pulls, plus another 10. So now, I'm finally finishing up the beginner banner. Obviously, I'm hoping for a Bronya here. Okay, you know what? This will help the early game. Better than someone like a Yanqing or a... Okay, maybe this is pretty bad. And yet another 10 pull, but on the actual standard banner this time. Bit of voice since I'll get her E6 from Evernight banner, but it is what it is. But anyway, more story. So Svarog got defeated and the Express crew plus Zila and Bronya are now free to get out of detention. Oh, skip button. What would we ever do without you? But unfortunately, level gating is back. So sim uni it is, again. But before that, we still have resources to claim. And a couple standard banner pulls. Hey, that's like one of the 4 relevant 4-stars left. I also did the character trials for more gates, which surprisingly counted to achievements, so that was nice. And we have ourselves the second 10 pull on the Evernight banner. Whatevs. Okay, Sim Uni was actually kinda difficult here, especially considering my lack of Ascension passives. On the other side, that's the first of the free Hertas. And do remember that the Sim Uni index gives a lot of jades. But anyway, since I'm level gated, I was forced to do exploration side quests all the way till TL20. The level gating is very annoying early game, but once you reach Xianzhou, there's enough quests to keep you going on Trailways EXP. I find that exploration is actually really inefficient for EXP, but it is very good for Jades. I decided to work on the 3-day exploration quests since they're both good on EXP and Jades. Eventually. And then I started doing world quests, since with the skip button I find those to be the most time efficient for EXP currently. Plus, I'm also snacking up chests and trotters along the way. Again, great for Jades, but these don't drop EXP. To be honest, I'm a really big fan of the repeated puzzle exploration. You have a lot of higher tier chests and you get to do the puzzles in one sitting. So Nymphoreas get even better since they're not time gated and you can stack up all the chests to claim at once. Oh yeah, there's the world shops as well. Kinda miss the world shops, but the Clocky statue / title bounty giving Trailways EXP is a very well worth trade. And with that exploration, I got myself yet another temple, and yet still nothing. But there is something better than world quests for EXP. Companion quests. They take about a similar amount of time to world quests, but they give about 350 XP per and a bit more gates as well. But finally, I can continue on with the main story. The Equilibrium trial was really easy due to a certain silver-haired quantum man. And with that out of the way, I can also get characters up to A2, and also continue saving Belobog, which includes in these memory things, and also unlocking my first A2 passive. And don't forget about the tutorial missions. This is a genuine recommendation, I forgot about those until TL59. But with that aside, here comes the 4th temple, and it is a 5-star! That is a 5-star, everybody! To ask the question, do I win the 50-50? I'm hoping for a win, but a Blade, Fushuan, or Bronya would be much appreciated. Especially Bronya, she's still incredible despite being a literal standard 1.0 unit. And the 5-star is, drumroll please, Fushuan! A semi-premium sustain and a 40 pity 5-star, can't really complain. And after that, it's the usual bell box stuff. We got penetrated, we became the penetrator, and Kokoli exploded. But more importantly, I can swap the Trailblazer path. And turns out all the paths get unlocked at once, so screw the other 3. But anyway, back to the skip button, I mean story. To be completely fair, I have played through Belbog all the way to Penacony before while actively listening to the story. I actually do know what's going on. And also, World 3 got unlocked in Simuni, which also unlocks Curios. That's gonna come in handy very soon. Alright, daily reset in-game has passed, but not IRL, so I'm still counting this as day 1. I decided to do the flagship event of the new pack since it takes 1 to 2 hours, but it gives about 1000 gates, and just like that, we're done. Also a bit of Trailways EXP from the permanent rewards. I guess it does help quite a bit, but the main course is here. The gates are of course incredible, but the trace materials help a ton as a new player. And with those rewards, here comes the first 10 pity on the guarantee. And that's expected. We are now actually entering into day 2. Yeah, the story goes by insanely quick with the skip button, which also means that I'm getting Trailblaze EXP very quickly, as well as another standard temple. This will come in handy in 38 days. But anyway, with a teensy tiny bit of scrounging, just a little bit, I can get another temple. I mean, Trent might be useful someday. We blew up the deer thing with yours truly, the free unit. And with some help from the lucky Mose off standard, which nets a nice amount of EXP. And then I finished up a bunch of the Danshu stuff. I'm gonna be honest, I remember none of this. And oh snap, it's that part of the story. No, please come back as a super break unit. And then we did the dance with Ventilia. You know how the story goes. Did a little bit more penetrating, as per usual. And a bit more housekeeping, and we're off to Penacony. Then said our goodbyes to Tingyun, who is most definitely not alive, not gonna be alive in the future, nope. And then got the Jade Abacus, and wrapped up the Xianzhou. But before starting Penacony, I do have a few errands to run. I am still quite a ways off of the temple though, so I guess I should start doing the Forgotten Hall stages. And just as a reminder, these stages don't reset but drop 200 gauge per stage. Plus, I needed to do stage 1 for the beginner quests. And since I could, might as well do stage 2. So that's a really easy 400 gauge. And that brings me another 10 poles closer to Evernight. In the meanwhile, the dream has started. Once again, daily reset has occurred, but not an RL day has passed. Did a couple of single pulls here, I guess I got impatient waiting for a 10 pull. But, before continuing the Penacony story, I decided to do the Boris in continuance since I remember that giving a lot of EXP, and also a free Hunt 7th. After that's halfway done, I finished up the second Trial of Equilibrium. More Ascension levels, more Light Cone levels, more rewards from Trailblaze power. Trailblaze EXP is legit the biggest bottlenecks in the early game. So now I can upgrade my team a little. Leveling up relics is a bit of a waste in the long run, but you get refunded 80% of the relic EXP anyway. The loss in relic EXP is more than made up for with making playing the game easy. Also a few more single pulls on standard. That was funny. On topic with my entry to Penacony as well. With my gear upgrades I can push through the Forgotten Hall a teeny bit more, which also lets me push through a couple more beginner quests. And also a few more single pulls on the Evernight banner. Nothing. Hey look, that's the day in the thumbnail. That's the one in the thumbnail. I finished up the regular event of this patch. And that leads into the next 10 pull. I mean, I guess memories can be usable sometimes. And then I kinda started the Ethereum Wars event and then abandoned it when I realized that it takes way too long. But the 4000 plus Trailblaze EXP does sound very nice. On the story side of things, the Trailblazer and Co got their first encounter with Sam, which obviously wasn't an issue with Archer. And then I went back to pushing the Forgotten Hall. Another quick and easy 600 gauges. Oh, and I also finished up the Galactic Baseballer event, but that was basically a full auto event anyway, so I ran that while doing other things IRL. So that means there's another 10 pull on the banner. More miscellaneous claiming rewards here and there? Go! There's another Herta, as well as a couple other first clear rewards. But more importantly are the index rewards. I'm gonna be using this for quite a while, aren't I? And that leads into yet another 10 pull. Bit more progress on the story later, and that is Trailblazer level 35. I got the last of the free standard 10 pulls and another 800 gauges. Did a couple of singles since I'm quite close to soft 50 at this point. Nothing. Meanwhile for the standard banner, Pale is still really good, so I'm happy with that. And I am welcoming myself into the Forgotten Hall once again. And this is actually 80 pity on a guarantee. There he is. If you didn't know, the warp ticket will be slightly darker at the start if your pull has a 5-star. Wonderful. Still need 2 more of her and her light cone, but that's an issue for the next video. Stay tuned for that. I will be trying to get E2 S1 Evernight, and keep in mind her banner ends in 5 days at the time of me getting her first copy, so stay tuned for that, like and subscribe, and see ya.